Prabhu, thank you so much for joining us. Let me just do a brief introduction here, because we're so blessed to have Yugal Kishore Das from Fiji, all the way from the Fiji Islands. I've only been to Fiji a couple times, but it's beautiful there. He's first had association with devotees in 1975 or 76 as a teenager. So very beautifully has been a long time devotee, and has been instrumental in terms of seva, bringing ISKCON to Fiji. He first met Srila Gurudeva on his first visit to Fiji in 1998, and it was actually coordinated by his father, who is Kantilal Punja, and he took Harinam from Srila Gurudeva that same year, and later took Diksha in 2005 during Kartik at Rup Sanatan Gaudiya Mat in Vrindavan. So this, we're very blessed to hear Pushpanjali from this devotee who has had a long association with Prabhupada and with Srila Gurudev. And so Prabhu, without further ado, let me just turn this over to you, and you'll have 30 minutes, and I can cue you if you'd like when you have about 5 minutes left, or I don't want to interrupt your flow, but thank you. And please, the floor is yours. Dandavat pranams.
Dandavat, Didi, and Dandavat to everybody out there watching this Zoom session. First of all, I was hoping that maybe you'll ask me some questions so I can respond to certain queries that you might have. But nonetheless, one of the things that I thought about this Zoom session is because when I was asked to come on board, I felt that whilst each one of us is going to talk about our own personal experiences with Gurudeva and our Sangha, I personally felt that it was important that we discuss more so strategic issues between our Sangha and our members and our devotees, whereby we can all support each other. Now with Gurudeva not there and our Sangha, scattered, and I noticed that with the COVID, with the parikramas not happening, there's very little association that us devotees have with each other. Now, Gurudeva has always said, and it's always been said, that sadhu sangha is the most essential part of our journey, and that keeps us on track. And I found that in the last 2 years that we've had a very scarce amount of sadhus visiting our areas around the world, basically. But nonetheless, our devotees have stood strong fast in their own devotions. But I believe that now we, being human beings, we're fairly fallible. We kind of drift backwards very easily, and it is important to get the support. And I feel that this sort of sessions are very essential. I think we should congratulate you. You must continue with this session so that at least we can inspire each other, or we can at least support each other with our issues. I still have many questions in my life about what I should be doing, how I should be doing, because we all go through transitions. Just for the listeners' information, I've been working in our family company for over 30 years. And the last 6 years, I retired basically when I turned 55. I said, listen, enough working, and I decided that I was going to devote more time with my parents and work on developing my bhakti. But in the meantime, I was offered an opportunity by our government, Fijian government, trying to take up a diplomatic position. So I spent 3 years in Canberra and 3 years in India. And when this offer came to me, I asked my family. I have a young son and an older son and a young one, as for whether I should take this position, because I really didn't need the money aspect of this position, and I didn't need the popularity contest because I wasn't involved. Because our family is pretty renowned in the Pacific, and we have sufficient funds and awareness out there. So I said, okay, maybe I should do it, and maybe there's a purpose. So I questioned myself as for why is this happening? Because quite often, many of us keep saying to ourselves, why is this particular incident happening to us? But little do we realize that it's Krishna's doing, that his purpose And if you're a genuine and a devotee and heartfelt, all the directions and all the opportunities that come to you is his doing. And when India came to my mind, I said, wow, I've been wanting to spend more time in Vrindavan. And so I was in Delhi, and from Delhi to Vrindavan was 3 hours drive. So I tried very, very hard to try and spend as much time as possible in Vrindavan. That was probably the main reason why I was given this position, to try and strengthen my devotion. I also, quite often when I'm working, I had a driver that used to take me from my house to my office, and every time I sat in the car, I would have a bhajan going on, Gurudeva bhajan or Prabhupada bhajan, recite or more than mantras, basically, the Hare Krishna mantra. And every time I said, my driver would automatically put this on because he knew this is what I wanted to listen to. And that was my time in my car. It was a half an hour drive. I would use the half an hour to meditate on my own. And my driver started picking this up. So every time I went to Vrindavan, I would bring in, go and look for some kantis, and I would give it to them, my butler. So I tried my best to try and, get our people involved. I mean, we all know the difference between punya and sukriti. Sukriti is being people to God consciousness or doing Krishna's work. And punya, we may rescue a dog or give a beggar some food or clothing. And punya, we take the benefits right here, right now, in this life. Whereas the sukriti element is something that we take with us to our next life. And many of our devotees who are listening, you've had some sukriti, accumulated sukriti in the previous years, in your previous lives. For that reason, we are today getting God conscious. We are all in the different stages of our life, in our spiritual life. So I feel that supporting each other is necessary, and supporting each other is also getting additional sukriti, I believe. So my personal suggestion would be, I realized that this is an interaction with Gurudeva, and like I said, maybe I should talk a little bit about my interaction with Gurudeva, because of my parents bringing Gurudeva to Fiji and also to New Zealand, and following that, we brought him to Australia actually as well. I had a personal contact with Gurudeva in the sense that I used to massage him at times, and go for his early morning walks with him, associate with him to do all the functions and programs that my parents would organize around the country. So in this way, I've had that very close contact. And I remember one particular incident that doesn't leave me is that when I first met Gurudeva, after that, I said, listen, okay, that's it. I'm going to start my journey. And I want to go to India and, go and meet him there and, go to Vrindavan and all of that. And I had never been to India at that time. And this was probably about 30 years ago. I decided that, okay, I want to go and I'll try. And within 2 weeks, I had a ticket on my table to go to India. And this is because when I was at work, I had many connections with international organizations, and I had to go to India for a program. And immediately I went and attended the program, and I extended my stay and went to Vrindavan. The first thing I did was, at that time, Gurudeva was in Mathura. So I think it's Keshavji Gurudeva in Mathura. So I went there, I booked a hotel, just not too far from the temple. And I walked straight away to the temple. And fortunately, Gurudeva was giving a lecture at that time. So it's a whole, whenever Gurudeva gives a lecture, the room is chock-a-block. So I was sitting right in the entrance part of the temple. And this is probably all your experiences, that Gurudeva notices everybody. And he picked me up from the, probably 200 people sitting there. He picked me up from right at the end, and he called me over. I said, come here. So I, slowly walked across over everybody and went to him and said, listen, when did you come? Asked me the basic questions. And he said, I'm staying in the hotel across the road. I just decided to come and see you and say hello to you. He says, no, you'll stay here with me at our temple. He said, take one of our devotees, brahmacharis, to go and bring your bags over, and you stay here. And you will not believe me, the temple was full with all the devotees, there was no room to stay. But they emptied out a storage room, one of the rooms where they had to keep all the rations, and gave me that particular room. Apparently, that room belonged to a British devotee, and apparently he was on wheelchairs, I believe. He was always on wheelchairs. So that room was kept for was meant for him, and I stayed in that room with Gurudeva for a week with him there. The next morning after this particular event, he sent somebody to get me up in the room and said, "Listen, Gurudeva wants to see you right now." So I come out, now he's in the front of the temple. So I went out there, and he was sitting in his car. I said, "Listen, come sit with me." So I sat down with him, and he said, "Listen, we're going to go for a small drive," and he knew. For information, I'm a mechanical engineer by profession, but I'm more in the management side of life than the engineering side of life. But my mind works very well with designs and buildings and all of that. So he had seen, I had done many properties in Fiji, so he knew about my skill set. And he said that, I want you to look at our temple we are building. And it was across the Yamuna, and I think, I forget the name of the temple, but there's a new temple that was being built that was in a village. And he wanted to, get it back up on its feet again.
Devasatila.
Yeah, that's the one, I guess. So he got us engaged. He got us involved with activities, and I personally feel that the lesson that we have at the moment is that each one of our devotees have many different skill sets. Yet while we use it for seva, I think we need to also use the skills to help each other out. In a sense, each one of us has our own lives to live, our own journeys, but yet we are a family. We are all together as God brothers, and I think it's important that we learn to support each other. And the only way we can do this is when we have these interactions where we kind of understand each one's background. I've been to Karthik many a times, over the years now. And, we have separate groups, different languages, yet we know that we are all serving Gurudeva, we're all serving Radha Krishna, and we are in the same Sangha, yet our interactions are very limited. I feel that there should be, you have it in the British, TV, what do you call it, a dating game, in a sense. Right now you go very quickly and meet everybody, and I suspect that I think there's nobody out there that's charging this or initiating this sort of engagement. And I believe that I think it's important that our Sangha finds itself a strategic plan, some kind of thinking that says, listen, this is how we're going to interact with each other. This is how we're going to build relationship with each other. To be honest with you, once you join Krishna consciousness, we kind of detach ourselves from the material world a lot. Our old friends that used to drink a lot or party a lot are no more there. You go to a function, it's very casual. They see you as an outcast, and I used to go to, as an ambassador, imagine I used to go to so many functions in India. In India, they have got 172 missions. So I would have probably, one function every day to go to. And I would go around there and, walk around with a clear glass with some soda water. And they would ask me what's happening. And I would say, oh, I'm just having a drink, in a sense. They would think I'm having alcohol, but I would, have ginger ale sometimes. And I'd confuse them with what I was having. And quite often I would even get a wine glass and put in some cranberry juice in it and walk around. So I had to adjust to these sort of things. And eventually my friends, when they got to know me, they realized that, I don't drink, so they would cater for it. But the moral of the story is that we kind of detach ourselves from the material world quite often. And systematically, our taste for this also goes away. We don't have any interest in parties or functions or whatever have you. We have social obligations with our families. Yes, that's all fine. But end of the day, you'll find that once your spiritual life starts growing, you start detaching from these material world. And this is when we need the support of the members, we support of our God brothers. Because I find that if I'm sending a WhatsApp message, I have got groupings. If I know that I have a friend that is slightly spiritual, I will send him spiritual messages rather than jokes. So we need some kind of thinking, and I'm hoping that maybe from this interaction that we are having today, that our members would start thinking along these lines, start trying to find new means and mechanisms to try and interact better. I realize that each continent has its own little groupings, and languages sometimes are an issue. But I don't think that when we do spiritual work, these issues, I suspect that because I remember the other day that when I was talking with Shamarani, I take a lot of interest in the book distribution process, and I'd like to believe, I must admit that I haven't been doing as much as I should have been. But to us at the moment, Gurudeva is in our books, and in his books that he has given us. And I think the focus on trying to distribute more books is necessary. Yes, I realized that in the early days of ISKCON, where books were given out in the streets, you might hit someone. It's a shot in the dark. You might find somebody that might take interest, may not take interest. I think we should continue with that strategy. There's no harm in giving books out. Yes, books cost us money, but there's still no harm. I realize that some of us try to sell books. Selling books is necessary, but to a targeted market. But there is the other side of the equation where probably 90% or 99% of our target market is out there, which doesn't know about Krishna consciousness or are not inclined to spirituality. So I guess, to me, producing, the smaller books, I think I remember there's a whole lot of books that, I think the smaller thin books that we can give out for free. In this area, the reason I've been involved is because my uncle, Jagannath Prabhu, has been, supporting the publication of books. So he quite often brings in pallet loads of books for distribution. And, I've tried very hard to, wherever I went, I gave out these books. The most recent thing at the moment is that whenever you go to a wedding or a birthday party, the ideal gift is the Bhagavad Gita. We quite often feel that, no, that may not be the right gift to give. But to be honest, I feel that that's the ideal gift. It's a manual for each one of us to know how to live and how to survive in this world and how to cross this ocean of birth and death. So I guess the moral of the story is that I think we need strategies. Each one of us is doing its own thing in its own way, and I appreciate. The members listening have been trying very hard, especially the Murn Lumber crowd that has been involved in the preaching work. They've built us centers, but it's a struggle. It's a struggle to try and bring new members in. It's a struggle to find devotees that be interested to develop. You find many people that come to our Kartik Parikrama would come just for the excitement of going around India, what have you. But when they return, they go back to their normal mundane life. And it's a challenge. It's a balancing act. I understand that. Me being a Grihastha, I have a balancing act. I have family. Our family has a dog. So I kind of do it, and I realize that now we are like Prabhupada has always said, that we need to be like a drop of water on a lotus leaf, untouched by the dirt below it. We kind of survive in this way. We kind of live our own lives. And like I keep reminding everybody that this journey is your journey. It's our individual journey. And the people that help support and make it happen are earning the sukriti, earning that the brownie point. So I think rather than concentrating on bringing new devotees in, that is essential. Bringing new devotees in is essential. But supporting our devotees, supporting our existing devotees, is more important. I think it's very much like the bird in hand rather than bird in the bush. So I think that strategic thinking is necessary. And I'm sorry I've taken time. I know many of the devotees are more interested in Gurudev's my interaction with Gurudev. But like I said, my personal interaction has been my personal experiences. I've shared a number of these things in a number of forums before, but I felt that a forum like this could be more useful and more supportive of Gurudev's message of taking our devotees in a correct direction. Now, without Gurudev, I personally feel very lost in a sense. What do I do? Who do I go to? Where does things happen? Yes, we have our sangha out there, and you're aware of the disparities between each one of them. There's a power struggle, all that sort of thing happening. But I'm not distracted by it, because my Uncle Jagannath is actually a trustee on many of Gurudev's temples in India, especially Gopinath Bhavan, many of you are aware of. It's where we have our apartments and all that. So he has been very anxious with the development. But the underlying issue is, where do we go? What happens to us? We have lost the shepherd, and I don't think that over time Gurudev would probably send us a new shepherd to lead the flock. But at the end of the day, we need to be together. We need to be supportive of each other, and that's my challenge, and that's I believe our Sangha's biggest single challenge at this moment. I hope I've covered a fair bit of information about what I've personally felt. Because last night I was sitting down and writing down the areas I should be talking about. Because talking of Gurudev, just let me share one or two more small anecdotes. I remember one time at when we opened the Govardhan temple. I remember we worked very hard to get the temple ready on time for the opening, and sometimes, like I said, each one of us has his own skills and own skill sets. And my skill set was maybe writing a check for payments for this and payments for that. But I also want to be involved, because we remember the gardens that were done at the front. One of the Maharajas asked me, listen, we need to do these new plants, and can we get this? So let's go tonight. We're going to get it. So we went immediately at 5 o'clock. The nursery had closed in Govardhan. So we tried to find the Mali there, the gardener, and we couldn't find him. So we ended up, we had a truck with us, a tempo or whatever it was. And we waited all night for the gardener to come in the morning to open up, and we loaded first thing in the morning at about 6:30, 7 o'clock. We rushed across and started planting. But the feeling, the sweet feeling of serving is unmeasurable when you are involved with so I'm sorry about this.
It's okay, Prabhu, take your time. Thank
you. Anyway, I remember when the Govardhan Parikrama finished and Gurudev was leaving. I know that he normally left quite late right in the end, rather than in the early part of the festival. So I waited for him till he left, because I kept an eye on him from a distance all the time, because usually people flock around Gurudev quite a bit, and it's important that others also get the blessing from Gurudev all the time. So I waited till he came to the gate side, and I knew he would pass the gate, so I stood there, waited for him. So I had a small envelope to give him, but I put a lot of people put a flower on the envelope and give it to him. I put a tulsi leaf on it, and I remember what he did was he just I said, "Oh, Yogesh, how are you? All that kind of thing." He took the envelope, he threw it in the bag, and ate the tulsi leaf. To me, that's real. That's a real. So I remember also one time when Gurudeva was, going for his early morning walks, and quite often he does his exercise, and he will break away from the team and go to a bit of side and do a bit of his exercise. And like Mother Maharaj and a few others who are also supporting him all the time, I decided to hang on with him too, because it was in my territory, so I had the privilege of being with him. So I asked a question to him one time. I said, Gurudeva, tell me, how do I know that I'm progressing in my spiritual life? There should be some kind of benchmark or a support. Some kind of message that I get that says, listen, okay, you are making some progress. And this is difficult for all of us to note as for how are we actually progressing? Like how it is if you have a child that starts in primary school, okay, basic numeracy, literacy, he's got that thing. Now he goes to high school and then he goes to university. Also, I also say to everybody that I think Gurudeva's mission is like a university and not like a high school. It's that level of knowledge that you get. And there's one thing he said to me is that, sure, the moment you start being able to preach, you know that you are making some progress. The only way you can preach is when you are gaining the knowledge. You have been reading, and you have been listening, and you have been understanding, and you really understand the true essence of this goal that we have at this moment. And I felt that that was a message for me to try and do some preaching work. And unfortunately, I'm not Siddhanti in a sense. I don't read a whole lot of literature, but I'm more strategic. Because being an engineer, we have a systematic thinking process. So I've always been thinking, okay, how do I, what do I want? What do I want to do? So my thing was, let's get more devotees on board. How do I do that? Because I wanted the Sukriti, I wanted that brownie point. So what do I do? So at this moment, we are working on a temple in Fiji. And all of you understand what the word Manobhishta means. This is Gurudeva's innermost desire. It was his innermost desire to see a temple in Fiji. So we have got our family. We've got a 2-acre farm land right in the heart of the city. There's no other piece of land that's big as that in the heart of the city. We have got that with a farm on it, with 2 buildings on it, a small temple and a residence. That is where we're going to build a new temple, and Gurudeva has already laid a foundation for that. So that project is mine, because at this moment my father is 85, 86 now. Jagannath Prabhu is 80. So they are willing to put the money down, but they do not have the energy to try and focus on the construction or the project itself. So fortunately, when I was in India, I managed to make connections with some temple builders, some carvers and people that have built temples before. And this is kind of information that is important to share and to see how we can get other people involved to say, let's just do this project. So having a temple is very necessary. Book distribution. We are on a main street, and we have the highest footfall through our in front of our temple. And I'm saying we're not capitalizing on this thing. So my thinking always has been strategic. How do I use my knowledge to enhance our mission, our Gurudev's mission, And at the same time, we are all very selfish, and I want the brownie point. I want the sukriti. And for that same reason, I've been trying to work on these projects. But like I said, Krishna has been so graceful to us and so merciful to us. He's been giving me all this opportunity. Go to India, find the carvers, find the temple builders. So in many ways, it's all happening. It's all really happening for us. Now, it is my decision to make a move. Yes, I'm going to go with book distribution, temple building, or whatever I'm going to do. For the listeners' sake, I'm actually in Auckland at this moment. I'm in New Zealand. I live in New Zealand too, as well as in Fiji. I'm originally from Fiji, so I'm in Auckland at this moment. But I need to go across, and this COVID has been, a nightmare for all of us in the sense that we cannot move around. But it is also I'm using this opportunity to try and think, to strategize. I've got a electrical guy. We have made a master plan of what I'm going to do. Now, remember the objective. Objective is, how do I get the brownie point? Now, I feel that the book distribution part is something that everybody that's listening today can do. It's not impossible. You can buy small quantities of book and give it out to people, and you'll find the difference in their life. I remember Gurudeva telling me a few times that, listen, don't go to people that have absolutely no interest. It's no sense in going to people that will not accept you or are not favorable. I think that was the word he used, the favorable. So I think going out there and identifying who are favorable to Krishna consciousness, who would be likely candidates that we can go and visit, and possibly slowly cultivate. I know that it's a enormous task for many of us, but we have our immediate friends. That'd be easy target for us to pursue. I'm probably sounding a bit more like a management person than otherwise, but I feel that this will enhance both our personal development as well as Gurudeva's mission. This will also enhance our relationships. It's essential. It's fundamental. It's essential that we ourselves find a medium of communicating with each other. I'm not sure how's my time. Is that
Prabhu, you've used your time, but actually, what you are speaking about is so wonderful, actually, and very much in the spirit of harmony that I think Srila Gurudev has left as part of his Vani. And I know Yashodanandan wants to ask a few things, but before he even asks, I actually want to ask you something, because literally just yesterday I was speaking with my Gurudev, Srila Madhav Maharaj, about a temple project that he's working on, the Mathura temple restoration. And I would love to know if you would like to also, maybe I could tap you to talk about that offline, because there's many things that we are needing to do in terms of that seva. And I think one, your skill set and your background is actually perfect to maybe help get this off the ground as well. In terms of the Sukriti and Seva points, I guess, if you're up for it, I don't know if you can build 2 temples, but if you are willing to let me reach out to you after this offline, I would really appreciate it.
Sure, by all means.
Thank you. And then Yashodanandan, I know you had some questions you wanted to actually ask.
Yeah, I'm very, thank you so much. Yogesh, you actually touched my heart right from the get-go. And I often listen to people from my somewhere in my chest and then secondarily in my brain. And there was something in the resonance of what you were saying that when you ended up crying, I wasn't surprised, because I kind of felt that from you in the first 60 seconds. I felt this kind of like deep yearning to be connected into the flow of seva, so that I could be, I'm talking as I as you, so I could be connected with Gurudev and Parampara, so that Ladini Shakti can just flow and exist in my heart. And when I'm bereft and separated from that river, I'm crying, because I just like, what's the purpose of all these accoutrements in life if I can't have the very existence of my life validated through my actions on a daily basis. That's what I heard from you from like the first second. And I know Jagannath, he's a very, very beautiful person. So you come from you come from a family that encapsulates that actually. And I think what's the name of your eldest brother?
Burmohan Das,
Oh no, maybe I'm getting mixed up. Maybe I served with him as well. Jagannath. I thought he was the eldest. He was the eldest nephew. No, it begins with M. The eldest nephew of Jagannath. I don't know your complete lineage, but there's another.
Nitin.
Nitin. That's right. I was one letter out. Nitin. Yeah, he's also really beautiful. So I really heard that yearning, and I'm not sure if you're aware, and it's probably remiss of us, we haven't reached New Zealand enough. But the Bhakti Zoom Saver team involves about 100 devotees to different levels of commitment. Like the beautiful thing about COVID's thrown up an opportunity online to serve as a global community in a manner which is very, very unhierarchical. And what's amazing is these programs, they don't cost any money. They cost time and love and savor. And they bring everybody together across the world. And we've probably reached in total an audience of at least 1,000 people. And there have been different levels of engagement of at least 100 people who have served in one capacity or other, whether it's a few minutes or whether it's like a lot of hours. And programs have been put on like 64-hour Zoomathons. We had World Sankirtan Day. We had Rupa Goswami's Tirubhav Festival for 4 days. And this is the 56th program of this particular session. And there's so much more we can do. And it's all about creating scalability, making it as horizontal as possible, not hierarchical, really concentrating on Gurudev's Vani, and remembering that he said to us, he's closer to us than the air that we breathe, which means he is ever present right now. And I just think there's just so much more we can do. And so I would also love to have an offline conversation with you to just go into that in a bit more detail, give you a sense of what's been happening in the last year online. Apologize for not involving you earlier, not realizing that you may want to have some connection to this kind of savor. And yeah, just reaching out to you and your friends in Fiji, New Zealand, Australia, because I love it. Today, for example, we've got Nihari and Baba Tarini in Hawaii, and we've got Harry Puri in New Zealand and yourself in New Zealand. We're literally, even in this quite small program of 21 people, plus those watching on YouTube and Facebook and recordings afterwards, we've got all the time zones in the world connecting right now in a beautiful Sangha.
Thank you, Prabhu. Thank you.
Jai. Yashodanandan, are you done?
Yeah, I just wanted to send that invitation out to Yogesh. If you're interested, I'd love to connect with you in New Zealand.
Yeah.
By all means.
Really, really wonderful. And I'm glad you said that, Yashodanandan, because I was actually going to iterate that as well, that through this program, this is exactly what we're seeking to do. Yugala Kishore Prabhu is to have Sangha, global Sangha and harmonization, regardless of people's rank or status or length in the association of or aspiration of Krishna consciousness. And
I did have one question for Yogesh, actually, is if you had to pick one instruction from Srila Gurudev that encapsulated your desires right now of what you just spoke about, what would be the single instruction from Srila Gurudev that you think would encapsulate everything you just said in the last half an hour?
Gurudeva always said that he is in our books, in the books that he's written.
Right.
And there'll be nobody else who can give that message, that Gurudeva has given us, other than the books that he has got. So the book distribution to me is distributing Gurudeva out there to the world. I think we have so many books. Each book is different levels, So we gotta ourselves define which book to who, at which level. And I think that's the challenge we have. Understanding how to target which message to who. And I think To me, at this moment, this is the only way we can keep Gurudev alive amongst all of us and around the world.
You know, one thing about that, Prabhu, I heard Shamarani speak on this, Her Grace Shamarani Didi, that she once asked Srila Gurudev about printing up, you know, a certain number of books, you know, around what you were thinking, you know, like which books for which people. And he said, all my books for everyone, you know. So I've definitely heard lots of devotees who've had direct association with Srila Gurudev say this, like someone could have the book on their shelf and maybe they never even crack it open, but their son or their daughter or a friend comes by and sees it. So I think you're right. The book Bhagavat is definitely a lifeline for us in Kali Yuga as Kali Yuga progresses. And I think distributing them all is great. And on that note, because Prabhu mentioned that, I just want to reiterate that we're still under pandemic, and those, especially in the US, who want to receive books through Her Grace Shamarani Didi and Vasanti Didi, for any donation, you can have any number of books and art shipped to you. And I will try to put a link in the chat. You can go to, I think it's unityanddiversityla.com, I believe, but I'll double check that link and put it down, and you can order or get in touch with Vasanti Didi. And this is a wonderful opportunity to get any of Srila Gurudev's books for distribution at very, very little cost. So to the point of not having to necessarily go even out of pocket so much, you can ask for like a whole library of books for your own edification or to share. And we've all been blessed with that opportunity. So thank you so much, Prabhu. Thank you for.
Can I just put in another 2 cents worth of discussion? See, talking about books, I hear Gurudev, you know, it's always good to have books for everybody. I remember one time I was, I think, in London, and I went to a bookshop. It's London, UK is good for nice bookshops. I bought a book on the religions of the world, and you know, I wanted to just see what was being said by the author. So I flicked through that, and I went into the Hindu side of things, and I read maybe 1 or 2 chapters, and I found that the understanding of this author was totally off. You know, he talks about Krishna having so many wives, and we're having so many gods Hindus have. Well, as soon as I read that, I knew that this guy was, you know, he had no knowledge of the in-depth of what Hindu religion was. So I put the book in the rubbish bin. The reason I'm giving you this anecdote is because some of Gurudev's books are university level books. You know, it's a really high level books, and for a novice to read that, you know, he will be totally confused. You know, he will not understand. You know, for example, today, you know, every time we talk about Mahaprabhu to people, you know, and we keep saying that, listen, Mahaprabhu is the reincarnation of Radha and Krishna, right? But a mundane person out there will not understand this thing, you know, because to them, you know, they know everything, and that's the very typical situation with everybody. And how can this be? How can you be? How can you, you know, be reincarnated? How can you can take birth after death? You know, so some of these you know, the mainstream philosophies, you know, the Einstein philosophy, you know, things that don't really gel with everyone. So I think for us, we have a very limited and targeted audience to go to, and I believe that I think the moment we start focusing, at the moment, I believe that, you know, we want to distribute books like how ESKCON did in the early days, and on the street, okay, take the book. Yes, that's fine. At the moment, I believe that, you know, we want to distribute books like how ESKCON did in the early days, and on the street, okay, take the book. Yes, that's fine. Yeah. No, but now what I'm saying is that is okay too. That is fine. We can go out on the street and we can do that. But I personally believe that, you know, those who are seriously looking for results. For example, you know, I'll just take you back to my company. Yesterday, I was talking to my brother. So we produce biscuits, And our biscuit quality is far better than any other biscuit in the market. Yet our sales is low in certain areas. And so we had to say, listen, why is the sales low? I mean, can't we talk to them, sample the biscuits so people understand? So sampling is the main thing. I think for us as devotees, we are the samples. We need to be the example to say, listen, okay, when people appreciate you and understand you and get to know you better, is when you can actually start, making a difference. Just yesterday, I got a email on a friend of mine. There's a book by a self-portrait of a autobiography by Will Smith. The book is called Will. And in that particular book, Will Smith is talking about his learning from Bhagavad Gita. I'm sure some of you may have seen some videos on WhatsApp messages on his understanding of the Bhagavad Gita and how his life is transformed. What I'm saying is strategies. We need strategies. We need to say, listen, look, people are using it. We may not be the best example out there to the world because people don't know us, but using at the moment there are a lot of personalities out there, movie stars who are willing to get publicity through this sort of thing. Why aren't we using that? I mean, I'm saying I may be right, I may be wrong, but what I'm saying is that as long as the bottom line is that we are achieving what Gurudeva wants, which is more devotees. We want to get Krishna consciousness out there. We want people to know what our Sangha is. We want them to read the university level books. Moment, because the pleasure of that is somewhere else. When you read, the true insights that Gurudeva has given us, because the story is the same. It's just the understanding. What Gurudeva has given us, the in-depth understanding of how and why our relationships are like this. I mean, I went to Australia. I was in Australia, and there's a Ram Krishna temple or something in Sydney, and I went there and I met the people. They did all this ceremonies, and when I talked to the president of the temple, and I was asking him about the deities they had, and I said, I just wanted to test him out to say, listen, what does Radha mean in the equation of Radha and Krishna? No knowledge. So the moral is that that what we have is university level education, and I think Gurudeva has blessed us with that information. And I think the more we get this out there, in the right ears and the right mind and the right hearts, we will make progress. And like I said, I don't think that we will be able to convert the world, but I tell you what, if you can get one devotee on board, you can make one devotee, that's the brownie point, the sukriti that you're looking for.
Haribol. Thank you so much, Prabhu, and thank you for adding that additional endorsement. More to come, and both, I guess Yashodananda and I both follow up with you separately offline for these various sevas, and so really, really I'm honored to have your association today, and thank you for joining us. Haribol.